Hey home bakers, it's Jack here, bakewithjack.co.uk, bringing you your weekly bread making tip every single Thursday. And my son has just gone off to sleep. Let's do this. Hey home bakers and welcome back. My son is sleeping, but I think we'll get away with it. This week I want to talk about the cost of a handmade, homemade loaf of bread, because a lot of people ask me this and it's important to a lot of people. So let's go through with it and figure it out. But first, I need some sort of prop. Hold on one sec. Yes! Pretty cool, hey? Fun fact, I already shot this video once with a whiteboard. It did not work. It looked terrible, but this is much better, right? Okay, let's do this. The cost of a homemade loaf is this. A bag of flour here in the UK is about £1.50 for 1.5 kilos. That's 50p for half a kilo of flour, and that's enough to make our loaf of bread. Now, assuming that the cost of foods in the US of A is round about the same, let's translate into the US dollars, because I know a lot of you guys are over the pond, so let's go for it. 50 pence in pence is about 64 cents in cents. That's it, innit? Like that. Next ingredient on the list is salt. Now, salt is about 75p a pot, and there's a lot of salt in there. We need about 10 grams. 8 grams really, but let's go with 10 to make the maths easy, and that comes to a total of, hold on, 2 pence. In US dollars, 2.6 cents. Then yeast, I always buy fresh yeast, and it works out for a loaf of bread about 10 to 12 grams of yeast, which is roughly 4.8 pence. And that translates to 6 cents. Now water, the water's tricky, yeah, because water comes out of the tap, and yeah, we do pay for it, but really it just comes out of the tap. So let's just say, for argument's sake, to make this easy for everyone maths wise, that water costs a total of 0, because really it's such a small amount of water. What, 300 to 350 grams, somewhere in between that number's pretty safe. Let's keep it 0 in pence, which translates to 0 in cents. Now I'm going to go ahead and top this up now very quickly in my head and write the totals at the bottom. So here in the UK, when I make a loaf of straight up bread, it cost me 56.8 pence, which, assuming ingredients cost the same over in America, works out 72.6 cents. But what does that mean to us at home? Well, I will tell you. So let's bring it back to the UK pricing and compare that to a loaf of branded bread, of modern bread that you buy in a plastic bag from the supermarket, which is at its best mediocre. Here in the UK, you'd part with about £1.05 of your hard-earned cash to £1.10 of your hard-earned cash just to buy a straight-up loaf. That's a white loaf or a brown loaf in a plastic bag. So if you make your own, you just saved yourself 50p, which is pretty sweet. But hold on, there's more. Now, if you're a little bit fancy and you might be buying a whole grain and oat loaf of bread or a multi-seed loaf of bread, you're looking at paying around £1.55 to £1.60 for that mass-produced mediocre bread. That means that if you're making your own and your base recipe is 56.8p, you've got £1 to play with. That's a whole pound's worth of seeds or nuts or olives or whatever you want to put in there. That's a whole pound's worth you've got to play with, which is plenty. Now let's go one step further, shall we? Let's up the stakes and compare your loaf of bread to an artisan loaf of bread that you buy from a proper artisan bakery. Now, for a proper handmade artisan loaf of bread that you'd buy from a bakery, you're looking at paying between £2.50 to £3.50 for a loaf of bread. And for a sourdough, you're looking at about £4, I reckon. Round about £4, even maybe £4.50. And you know what the thing is? It's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. And in fact, in the case of sourdough bread, you take the yeast out of the equation as well. You're not even paying that 4.8 pence either. It's the same ingredients, and with the exception of swapping out a little bit of the flour for wholemeal flour, or rye flour, or spelt flour, or organic flour, which is a little bit all more expensive, it's the same stuff at the end of the day. But listen, don't get me wrong, you're not getting ripped off by an artisan baker. You're not getting hoodwinked by overinflated prices, because there's a ton of work in that loaf of bread. And if you are making bread at home, you'll know there is a lot of work going into that loaf. That baker works all day and all night to handcraft that loaf with love, and there's hours and days invested in it, sometimes, in the case of sourdough, years. Not to mention the work and practice, the years and years from generation to generation, the experience that baker has in his or her hands to bring you that loaf of bread. So if you're buying terrible bread at home on a weekly basis, you'll make something even better for less than or the same cost. And don't even get me started on dough balls. Wow, seriously. And if you're buying amazing bread, the real deal proper bread from a baker, keep buying it and support that baker who's busting a gut daily to bring it to you. Listen, I hope this video is helpful. This is something I get asked quite a lot in a class. You know, how much does it actually cost to make your loaf of bread? I'm sure it's different wherever you are in the world. I know loads of you in the USA, and I know loads of you in the UK, and the rest of you are literally all over the place, which is amazing. So thank you very much for joining me every week for a bread making video. I look forward to seeing you next week for another bread making tip. And I'm sure you're sick of me saying to you, press the buttons, but really, pressing buttons really helps out, probably more than what you think. So press the thumbs up button if you like this video, if it's helped you. Press the subscribe button if you want to hang out with me every single week, you don't want to miss anything. And if you're super keen, super fan, press that bell and your telephone will go off every time I put a new video up. If that's your cup of tea, thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.